is seen. Episode 14, and I'm Andy Cooper from RMS Motoring, and today I'm joined by Gary Riley.
Give me a second now to get this right. Zdravstvuyte. That's hello in Ukrainian.
And Ross Annett.
I'm not even going to attempt that there, but hello.
He's doing hello in Irish.
In this show, we catch up on the changed world since we last recorded. Hopefully the changed world is actually a fully stuffed events calendar, which I'm just looking down. So we've a track day on Sunday at Kirkeston. Let's Dance are having a Cars and Coffee at the end of March. The more charity static show, and then the big one, which is Dubshed on the 2nd and 3rd of April. Doing a special show on Dubshed with Gethin and Nigel, the guys from GTI NI, and we'll be recording that later on this week, so keep an eye out for that in a separate show to find all about the Dubshed show and behind the scenes and what those guys have had to put up with with COVID. It's just been mental, but there's lots of good things coming because we need some good news. The price of fuel, oh my god, absolutely horrendous. So we get to that because I think this whole thing in Ukraine is going to have a significant effect on everything, unfortunately. More mundane matters. I've just taken the GT4 off Soren, and about 2 days later I got COVID myself, which was an absolute disaster.
It's impeccable timing.
My timing was so I didn't get to turn a wheel. I was just completely off my feet. But any of you tried to book an MOT at the moment? That is horrendous.
I did one trying to think now, mid-January, and there was like a 2-month wait, so I just did my usual thing. I booked it for 2 months ahead and then checked daily for cancellations and got one pretty quickly.
So see the check daily thing. I get that check all the time. Have you been on the site? The site can't handle the traffic, and they put you some stupid queue.
It's the whole time ticking down thing with like 20,000 people in the queue in front of you. It's nuts.
But it's better than it used to be. At least now it gives you all the different locations you can go to pretty quickly, whereas before you had to go into a queue for Belfast and then find out it's full and then go back out, go into a queue for Lisburn.
Terrible.
Yeah, so
terrible.
It's slightly improved. It could be a lot better still.
Yeah, but like the whole system should be like, you should nearly even have a waiting list, and you could just say, right, I want if something comes up in Larne in March.
I still wouldn't take it.
March 2025.
Do you ever get the impression though that they're trying to line it up almost as if the privatisation over in mainland? I know that there's been the whole talk about it, but something has to give at some stage because they can't keep going on. You know, the amount of scrappers that are on the road that shouldn't be on the road.
Yeah,
it's not right. So it's not. Of course, they've got huge waiting lists. There's lots and lots of cars. But what is the solution? You know, is it a temporary privatisation? Do they let garages do it?
Well, in theory, I think we would have less scrappers than the likes of England, because you would think of privatisation and, you know, guys throwing cash at their mates to give them an MOT. Mm-hmm. You would find more of it over there than you would here. But then, as you say, you know, you have witnessed as a result.
And cars driving on the road that are getting their exemptions and being allowed to continue on.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be on the road.
Yeah, and of course, I suppose they've been battling since they had all the lift issues. Mm-hmm. Back, was it just before COVID?
Just pre-COVID,
They had to pull all the lifts out. It was an absolute nightmare. So no, I need a book. It's not the GT4's MOT's due, I think, in April, so it's not a big deal. I mean, sort of I've got time, but I don't have to book now to book something in flipping August and then be back in the bloody queue system every single day trying to get a.
Well, here, tell me, what hurt you more? Was it catching COVID or was it paying for an extra month on that? After taking the Soren off, having to pay for it?
No, Andy, it's paying for anything.
57 quid on the direct debit. Absolutely brutal. But I did, I got it on in it yesterday. And it's the first time I had it out since the end of November. And,
what, the credit card?
Took the Visa out for a run on the back
credit 19.
So yeah, that has been my excitement with COVID has just completely ballsed up all my plans. So I was supposed to get another electric car for review, and that didn't happen between the bad weather.
That
as
was
well.
the BMW, wasn't it? The i4.
i4 M50.
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to seeing that one.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting it, but I need to get.
I'm out in it tomorrow.
All right, that's right.
My-
Little birdie told me that actually.
My X5 is going in for it was due in for service, but one of the headlights has started like messing up, which has never happened before. I contacted them about it, and obviously because it's still on a warranty, that's why it's gone back down to them. And I managed to wangle the i4 M50 out for a few hours.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what you.
I'm really
think
looking
of
forward to it. Pete's already asked me to come round to not race him in his Tesla. I've been watching all the car wow videos and that there, the M50 versus M3s and everything else. They're a really interesting car, and especially, obviously we're going to talk about fuel prices and that later on, but electric is becoming more and more appealing, especially if things keep going the way that they are going.
The way the price of fuel has shot through the roof, the whole costing compared to electric has just totally changed, So it's suddenly made electrics 10, 15, 20% better on your back pocket.
This chasm's kind of growing between them.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the other RMS members during the week there, and obviously his work has changed slightly. He's been relocated, and he had worked out at £1.50 a litre. He was spending $6,500 a year in diesel travelling to and from work. And no matter what way you look at it, like that's fierce money to be spending travelling to and from work. Mm-hmm. And if that $6,500 can be offset in an electric car, that I think was there something on the forum the other day about somebody had worked out that the costing to charge a car up just using a standard 3-pin plug if you needed to from home was still going to be something like £13 from empty.
Yeah.
If you go through 2 fills a week, 26 quid.
Oh, I saving
versus
a fortune.
What you're spending on diesel at the minute.
So it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, look, things aren't going to be great for anyone running a car for the next wee while. Separately, in my convalescence during COVID, I was watching a lot of TV, and I was watching Top Gear America. So that is Dax Shepard and Rob Coudry and Jethro Bovingdon.
What was Rob Coudry in apart from? He's in Hot Tub Time Machine, I think.
Yes.
I know him from it.
That's all I know.
I haven't seen him in anything else.
Fantastic film, though. Hot Tub Time Machine.
That's
all. That's a career-defining moment.
It's one of those stories. You think, how the hell did they come up with it?
And a bit of Chevy Chase in there is the mad scientist, hard to beat. Bovingdon, like Gary, you and I are big Evo fans, and
he still does bits for them. Actually, the last Evo issue I read there had the Evo Car of the Year, and then I think he was in America filming Top Gear and flew back on the Sunday night before they normally go away for a week or something, to Scotland or something like that there for all the cars. So I think he flew back on the Sunday night. So a lot of the article was kind of slagging him away.
Taking the piss.
He graced us with his presence.
Yeah. But he's brilliant. He's brilliant on.
And he's a big celebrity, on
Top Gear America for in the same way Chris Harris is, I think, brilliant on the UK Top Gear. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how the US Top Gear, I think, has been through 4 or 5 different iterations. I don't know if it ever sticks. It doesn't seem to gel with the audiences over there. But anyway, I was watching it, and 3 or 4 episodes in, they were doing they flew to Colorado in the winter, and so loads of snow, ski resorts and all the rest, and they're all flying about in over horsepowered SUVs. So I think that Lambo Urus, Porsche Cayenne Turbo, Ford. They were talking about the Ford Explorer, saying the Ford Explorer was the best first SUV to come out in the 90s and all the rest. But Bovingdon then appears in this thing. Have you heard of the Sherp Arc?
I have, yes. Haven't read a lot about it in detail, but we were chatting about this earlier. I definitely have seen it in a movie of some sort.
We'll post it in the show notes. So if you're listening to what the hell's a Sherp Arc? So imagine it looks like a porta-cabin on monster truck wheels is all I can describe, with another articulated porta-cabin behind it. It
looks like a post-apocalyptic kind of vehicle that you drive around in after Rush is finished.
Unimog towing a Unimog jacked up with steroids.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental. Look at 10-wheel drive. It can inflate and deflate all its wheels. It has enough range that it can run for 15 days straight, and like a 240 litre fuel tank.
Universal Soldier in the back of it.
Totally. It's just one of those things. It looks like something out of a early 90s sci-fi movie, each wheel centre can hold 60 litres. And so Bovingdon was doing this review for Top Gear America on one of these things. And I'll say, I'll post a picture in the show notes so you know what the hell we're talking about. But of course, this was filmed during the pandemic. But the Sharp Arc is built in Ukraine. And I was watching this and then I was just like, oh my God. You know, and... you know, where is this company now and what are they doing or not doing, or, you know, is for a show that was only filmed and released so recently, I'm like, oh, the world has just changed so much. But this thing, they're over £250,000. It can only do about 20 miles an hour, but it can like drive through, as I have in my picture here, a frozen lake. And if it breaks through the frozen lake, it's fine because it can float and just drive on through. But yeah, the thing in Ukraine, it just... oh my God! It's there's no getting away from it. Like the effect it's had on us already. I was talking earlier on to you guys about just bought some home heating oil. We've posted on social media there and there was a thread in RMS about some of the crazy prices of fuel. I'll say £1.70 a litre now. It'll maybe be worse, but
it's gone over £2 a litre. There's no doubt about it. It's frightening. It's worrying. You know, for homeowners, for car owners, for people who are trying to get on with things. It's shit. It really, truly is.
People who were talking as well is like, there's always people asking about, well, when is COVID going to... so we had Brexit. Brexit's going to bring down car prices. No, the flipping a price of a 1985 Mini Metro has gone through the roof. And Coog's just lining it, flying. Right, we've got COVID. COVID will knock the classic car market in the head. No chance. Even though the price of fuel's gone up, I don't know, because... we're cutting off Russia. So then I was reading about this as well. I think it was an auto car or something like that. They were saying that Russia's a huge raw material supplier. So, like battery components.
There's a huge mining industry.
Yeah,
in Russia.
it's not lithium. It's something to do in the in other parts of the battery. Palladium, which is using catalytic converters.
Where's Lions?
Exactly. Wiring harness is made in Ukraine. Then even other companies that have interests in Russia, for example, I didn't know this until the things you find out now the whole world's connected. So Renault own Lada.
Wow.
So
Didn't know that.
I had no idea.
That explains a lot, actually.
Yeah, although I don't know if they're partially state owned or how it works, but yeah. So just we're going to feel the effects, and all the manufacturers are going to feel the effects because their supply chains have been disrupted and all the rest. So we can't see
the fuel's definitely the immediate effect that we're feeling from the Ukraine crisis, and the rest of them will probably be long term. But just when you mentioned the fuel there, we're looking at the figures from a year ago, and it was like £1.25 on average for petrol, £1.27 for diesel. And now it's up to £1.80 and £1.82 respectively. So the cost of filling up a typical family car with 55 litre tank has gone up £17 in a year, which is insane.
And that's per fill, so that's £17-20 a
week.
week.
You multiply it by week, by month, it's a lot of money people are paying, and then you've your home heating oil on top of it and everything else. And UK's now announced this phased-in ban of Russian oil and refined fuels, which will run through 2022. So, there are other exporters. I think 20% of our fuel or something like that comes from Russia, but 20% still a lot for the entire UK. It's a big chunk of it.
20% is a lot. And where are we going to make up this difference, this 20% difference? Because there's not going to be less cars on the road. There's not going to be less need for it.
Yeah. Well, what's worse, OPEC, so the oil-producing countries, have said, "Oh no, we're making enough fuel as it is."
Yeah.
They don't want us supposed to be seen to be taking a political slant, but the pact outside Russia need more fuel from other sources, and those sources have to produce more fuel, or the prices will rise. And
20% too is also conservative, because I know that the likes of the Netherlands, I think they buy their fuel from Russia and then resell it to us. So in reality, if you cut off Russia, it could be a larger figure. But then, what's the solutions? The fuel prices are going up. What do you do? The government could reduce the VAT, which is 20%. That would take a chunk off it, but then they're going to lose a lot of income, and they probably wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, what's fuel duty? 75p a litre or something?
I think there was some calculation that there was at least 58% of the price of fuel goes back into the government.
Yeah. So they could do something, but the government's probably reeling off the back of COVID and the cost of furlough and all the rest, and they can say, well, or can we just suck it up, or do we have to suck it up? Or
I think, as usual, the motorists are definitely going to be penalised because it really is. It's an easy source of income for the government.
Yep.
People still have to go to work. People still have to go out. They have to drive. They have to do whatever else. We're going to have to fill our cars.
And I tell you the biggest problem. You go down to your local BP and you're filling your car at £2.40 a litre or something like that there, and someone turns up in their Tesla, parks in a pump space, and just sits there, just being a smug bastard, not even going in there, and just being smug, just sits there for 5 or 10 minutes and then pisses
Rocco
off.
now in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. So the amount of EV smugness I am expecting to go through the roof in line with fuel prices.
Yeah, that's worst nightmare doing that, just pumping some guy sitting there in his Tesla smiling at you.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And he's Russian.
Oh, flip me. So yeah, absolute madness. But yeah, Top Gear America gets my thumbs up.
And where can one watch Top Gear America?
I don't know.
Okay. America. You have to fly to America.
You have to go to the States.
Gotcha now.
Vegas, verbally.
You have to download America onto your computer somehow. I think actually, it's Motor Trend. You can get a Motor Trend subscription here,
Yes.
can't you? Yeah. So I think it's Motor Trend. We'll get you on it. That must be where I watched it. Of course, that's where it is.
I'm sure if someone was engineering and found an American VPN, they could probably get a way to make it work.
So yeah, I don't know. I actually thought it was quite good, but Top Gear in the US, as I say, it's been through 4 or 5 different iterations. It's never really stuck, but it was. I tell you what, it was a hell of a lot better than some of the Grand Tour output. So yeah, the other thing that a couple of other things that have appeared online, and I'll have to try and hook it out while someone else talks. But have you seen the guy in the US who goes, "Hey buddy, nice car. What do you do?"
Oh yes. I've seen him flashing up on Instagram and all the different stories.
I just started watching him the other day a couple of times, and it's just addicted to.
Oh, this is the guy. He goes up to supercars and he asks, like, he wants to know what their jobs are. How could they afford such a car? Essentially.
Yeah.
You could imagine somebody walking up in Belfast to someone in this car.
Here, mate. What do you do?
UVF drugs.
That's what you want to get.
Just, I'm going to clean your clocks.
You'll ask once over here.
Yeah, totally. But because most of the time in the US, and that's what I love about the attitude in the States. People are actually don't take it thick like we would. People take it as like, oh yeah, someone's interested to know, and then if usually has a follow-up question, said, well, what advice do you have for someone young like me to get a 250
Get a job, man.
Yeah, 250 grand Lambo. If you're female and remotely attractive, OnlyFans seems to be a good choice for the LinkedIn profile, you know.
Heard of that site?
Yeah. So
understood that reference.
So yeah, so that's interesting. So I'll post a link of that in the show notes.
Again, I think that comes down a wee bit to the difference in attitudes. I was listening to the Reload podcast where Connor and that was over in America.
Yeah,
and they just seemed to kind of like it was like a busman's holiday almost for them. They went and worked on other people's cars and that, and it was just like a really kind of friendly. Oh, you guys are from Ireland. You work in European cars. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. So it's just so friendly and open. Whereas here, if someone turned up and said, "Oh, here, can I help you load your van?" You're like, I'm not going to see half the stuff in the back of my van. This, you know.
I think it would depend a lot probably in America where they do it too. You know, they're probably doing it in decent areas and things. You know, if you were like in a back alley in America, and some guys coming up saying, "Oh, help you load your van."
Oh yeah, well that's
a different story. You know,
that's true. But
universal.
Yeah. So that guy is good. I'll post some videos in the show notes. The other thing that appeared, sitting the other night in bed watching videos and crap on YouTube or whatever else, and then I was reading reviews and I was suddenly having a moment of doubt, and I was like, I'm thinking of selling this GT4, and I've just turned the key in it. I've just taxed it for a month, and should I be selling it because it is utterly fantastic. It's just incredible. It's the best car I've ever owned. I love it so much. And as if by magic, Carfaction suddenly released a video review of the Emira. So Lotus have shipped out a prototype. It's not the final article, but they've let Top Gear drive it. They've let Henry Catchpole drive it from Carfaction. and we were watching it there just before we started recording, and I think I have made the right choice. So bring on July.
It's really interesting because I said we spoke back when I think it was episode 10 after you gave me the run out in the track day in the GT4, and I got out of it and it was just like, it's one of those moments where you get out and it's just one of the best real world cars I've ever been in, because it's the right mix of speed, of aesthetics, of looks, of handling, of noise.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a hard car to replace.
Very.
Very, very hard.
If I have the money, which I absolutely don't, I would just love to keep it.
Yeah.
You know.
They are special. I said at some stage a Porsche is definitely on the horizon for me, so it is.
Yeah.
And I think before, you know, obviously we keep talking about fuel price, we talk about everything else, but before the real takeover of EVs, I think now is like the pinnacle of the last of the sort of internal combustion engines, and that GT4 of yours, it just blew me away, so it did.
Well, like, I'm such an EV evangelist, yet I don't own one. And I came down here in the Yaris today, and it was dark, it was lashing, and I've never been something that eggs you on in such terrible conditions. Absolutely horrendously great fun. But yeah, so I'll post a video to the Amira videos in the show notes just to bore you all. So it's either EVs I'm reviewing or Porsches. I think, is it Porsche an age thing?
I don't think it's an age thing.
How do you mean?
As in, the older you get, the more. Well, you've had Porsches in the family for forever, so I think that's slightly different. But it's,
I think what you're asking, it actually raises an interesting point. I heard this recently. A lot of people say, "Oh, you know, you see somebody 45, 50 with a Porsche, and it's the midlife crisis." But I don't think a midlife crisis exists, and this theory has been backed up. It's just that you get to a certain point in your life where you maybe have got far enough in your job, you're earning enough that you can actually afford a Porsche, you can afford the time to go out and enjoy it, and you want to do it before you get to a certain age where you can't.
Yeah.
So that to me is what it's about, buying a car at that age. But yeah, Porsches, I think if you're a car enthusiast, if you can afford to get a Porsche at some point in your life, you should do it. And it doesn't have to be 100 grand 911. There's plenty of older Porsches, there's plenty of 996s that are very affordable. You know, you can enjoy any of them, but they're all very unique.
Yeah, for me, again, Porsche was always, a 911 was always the iconic car, because there was something a bit more affordable about it compared to the Ferraris and things like that there. And from everything people say, the Porsches are just such a better driver's car. And I think the GT4 game is the pinnacle of that there, where Porsche had maybe seen they're too far gone with the 911, keeping the engine where it is. And then the GT4, they changed everything in it, and it just
worked.
It just worked so well.
It's built from the ground up.
Yeah. But they're superbly built. They just feel like they go on forever, which you wouldn't have necessarily ever said about supercars like Ferrari. You know, so for older, maybe not the newer ones, but certainly older Ferraris. And if you take a 70s Porsche versus a 70s Ferrari, what car's going to last better and be more reliable?
It's black and white. Ferraris were hideously unreliable.
Yeah.
All the old ones. The first Ferrari I was ever in was 1982 Mondeo. Now it's not the pinnacle Ferrari by any means, but even that one was only 4 or 5 years old. Electric windows didn't work. The heater was stuck in hot. It couldn't select reverse. The indicator stalks were broken. There were so many issues with it.
Old Lotuses were the same. Terrible reliability. Yeah, but Porsches of the same era were built with that.
Much more sturdy.
Yeah. You know,
and when you look at an old Porsche, look what Singer are doing with old Porsches. They're falling over themselves to get the old ones and completely rework them. Whereas I saw something, again, I'm nearly sure it was on the forum, Testarossa, where they're taking that flat 12 engine that some people love them, other people were saying, but it's an old Ferrari with not a particularly good engine. It sounded great, but it wasn't particularly. And now they're sticking EVs in them, and the Testarossa seems to be a really popular EV transition. So it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll see, can I ping you the link of that one?
Have you seen that latest Singer one?
Yes.
The 930?
Oh.
Because I think all their ones to date were based on, what was it?
The
964?
DLS? Yeah.
Or an older platform?
Yeah, no, it was the 964. They're
It
all.
was a single iteration of the 911, yeah, but this latest one, the 930, it's so broad and fat and wide. It's amazing looking.
Yeah, no, they're incredible. But yeah, but I think there is an age thing. I think when I was in my 20s, I appreciated a Porsche. Thought, yeah, it's nice, but of sort of like old man's car. You know?
Well, I didn't win our King's Porsche this week either, so I didn't. So, see, they had their 911 Turbo although they've wrapped it was a silver car, and they've wrapped it crayon, which everything. And again, there was a lot of people talking about they're sick of looking at cars that haven't been painted yet. Crayon, it works with some cars. I did quite like it, but yeah, I didn't win it.
Crayon's very light dependent. Sometimes
I do
you just
love
like
it. I've yet to see a car in crayon that I haven't liked. It seems to work with most shapes.
Yeah, with most shapes.
Whereas you take yellow or red or whatever, some cars it suits, like your E46, others it doesn't.
I tell you what, my biggest problem with the Porsche ownership, I got a wee bit of hate on it.
Oh yeah?
Just a wee bit of attitude from people.
Where, like, meeting them in junctions, or
just out on the road, or someone not someone. Well, it could be just me, or
COVID,
like,
and you were breathing over them, or something.
like very definitely not letting you out of junctions and that sort of stuff.
Do you know something? It probably is a wee bit of that about it. Whereas I think car enthusiasts, the one thing we always love seeing is if you see somebody in a nice car, a sporty car, a fancier car, you will tend to let them out in the hope that they'll give it a wee kick,
light it
a
up,
wee bit of just push it a wee bit, make a wee bit of noise.
Well, and see if I'm out the Yaris in the same situation, the world will stop for the Yaris to come through. It's unbelievable.
I think, if as you say, if you're a car enthusiast, you appreciate what the car does rather than what you think it costs.
Yeah,
that's all it comes down to. If you're not into cars, you're looking at a Porsche and going, there's $100,000 car, or $200,000 or whatever. One
thing I'm looking forward to going back to the Lotus is that different type of enthusiast, because it's away from the Porsche thing does have stigma attached to it, and it is, to be honest, it's probably the worst thing about the car, is because people's perceptions of it.
Yeah, it's the middle-aged man who's living his youth again.
Bastard, yeah. Frig him. So, yeah.
I am actually looking forward to get it, because I loved your last Lotus. It was a sexy car.
The Exige.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was great.
Racy.
But yeah, because then other things, I was just watching the Carfection videos, and I was looking at the guys, and I was looking very closely at the gear shift. So the gear shift was never just perfect on the road in the Evora or my Exige. It was perfectly fine. You could roll up and down the box, no problem. See, if you put the box under pressure on track, you could sometimes struggle to get gears where you'd have to shift short. See, if you're under a lot of lateral G on a high speed corner, then you could struggle to change gears because of the cable gear shift, and the Porsche doesn't have that problem at all.
What kind of box is in it?
It is.
Were they not a Honda box?
A Toyota Auris.
Oh, right,
gearbox with a Lotus gear set on it, which is really random. At an Auris diesel, of all things.
Fully designed for grannies to be short shifted.
Exactly. Well, sure, the Camry's practically a flipping invalid's car over in the US. Old person's flipping yoke as well, and that's what the engine's based off, and they just slap the supercharger on, and that's a great job. But
is the baby seat going to fit in the Lotus better than the Porsche?
Times are changing when you're googling Lotus Emira Isofix, which I didn't get a conclusive answer to, by the way, so I'll just have to drive myself.
That's what the spoilers for.
So anyway, that's what's been
one of them Sherpas yet.
Been flying through my mind over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, by the way, so yes, the Soul to Scene show, you might have guessed, we don't run to any particular schedule. We just sort of appear. Well, it didn't help that I had COVID, and then we decided not to do Zoom and all the rest last week, but we're back this week, and then I'm recording later on again this week, and I'll just bang them out, and then we may have another gap until we have someone else.
Usually it's just a WhatsApp message. Are you free next week?
Yeah.
Let's something in.
Let's go for it. So if you're wondering, like, I wish these guys would knock something out every week. That's never going to happen. Like,
the interesting one's coming up after the other two guys who we've been chatting about.
Yes,
take you out for a wee drive.
We'll that's it. We're cooking on something. We're trying to get out with Johnny Law. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the inside track there on the why we're clocking up so many flipping penalty points. I don't know. Why are the roads covered in safety camera vans? I tell you what, the cost of fuel slow people down more than camera vans. He's trying to squeeze every flipping mile out of every drop of juice.
People are going to have to be creative now about economy and what they can do, and
everyone's going to overinflate their tires. Everyone's going to run 60 psi and pressure in their tires.
Try and reclaim that 17 quid a week that you're spending extra in fuel.
You say 17 quid. I filled up today, and I filled in Crossgar, and it was 135 quid to fill up my X5. If I had filled up in Kilkeel, which is a half an hour up the road up past the some of my customers, it would have cost me an extra 14 quid in fuel, and that's just the price difference between 2 petrol stations.
That's mad.
150 quid, essentially.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
And I wonder, is that just because petrol stations sort of price themselves on the local area, don't they? So if the BP's on one side of the road and the Maxwell's on the other, they're likely going to be. So it's just literally trying to catch up.
It's it's crazy. And I said that was, we're talking about 17 quid a week. That's 17 quid a fill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're filling twice a week, depending on how much work you're doing, it might slow people down. I know I certainly will probably think a wee bit more about, kind of doing unnecessary journeys or unnecessary trips. But if you have to go somewhere, you have to go.
You have to go.
And that really, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. And it just hits your pocket.
And I imagine the vast majority of people, they don't do a lot of unnecessary driving during the week.
Although there was a Cars and
not
Coffee
50 or
at the
60%
weekend.
of it.
There was down in Dundalk.
Yep.
And it was full.
Looked incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing. I didn't get down to it because obviously having family duties and we fellas playing football and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it can't happen every week. But I was watching the Instagram feeds and watching photographs that people are uploading.
Looked fantastic.
Amazing. And what a standard of cars coming out as well from north and south.
Yeah, unreal. But something like that, I would gladly spend my money.
Yeah.
It's like I'm putting fuel in this car to enjoy my car because that's why I have it, to have the enjoyment miles, and maybe enjoy them driving of the car more. I think, well, it's cost me a bit to run it here, so I will take every last bit of satisfaction about it rather than just mindlessly driving about.
He's thinking about that extra 50 quid soaring.
I know.
You see it ticking over here.
You maybe have to treat it like beer or something. A night out, and you have your pints, and that's what you're there to enjoy, and that's what the car needs to feel for.
Yeah, totally.
You just have to put it on it.
Totally. Well, look, I'm just, as I said, I was starting to look through of the event section on RMS. I spent the day a couple of weeks ago and just really went through and updated as much as I could all the stuff that's coming up. And there's from now until June, July time, there is something nearly every weekend. Like Springfest Car and Plane Show. I've never heard of it, but looks fantastic. It's in Carrickmore, but there's just absolutely loads of stuff. There's Loughgall Show and Shine, Ford Fair. There's a classic car show at Stormont as well. So
it's exciting to see it happening again, and I think as restrictions are being eased with COVID, and we are getting through it. It's happening, but it's just exciting to see that all these car clubs, all these Cars and Coffee meets, the Dubshed shows, the rallies, the Bishop's Court's on this weekend as well. There's rallying on there. There's the track days coming up. It really is. It's exciting again, and it's kind of getting back into the way that things were. And that's one thing I think us all as enthusiasts, as drivers, as people in the scene, will always make do. No matter what the prices of the petrol and diesel are, we're still going to make the effort to go and catch up with your friends and see who's doing what and having a blast up the road.
Totally.
There's nothing else like it sometimes just to have that drive.
And
it's not the first time we've had high fuel prices or even a fuel shortage, when people get through it. And I think over the last 2 years there's been a sense of a cabin fever, maybe not literal, but people want to get out and about to their meets and things a lot more now, and there's a resurgence there. So it's good to see.
Yeah, totally. So I know I'm looking forward to, there's Supercar Sunday, which was massive. Was it last year? They ran up?
That was brilliant.
And they're running. It's now a 2-day thing. I think they're doing they run up around the north coast one day, and then on the Sunday they're going down to Bishop's Court.
Again.
But I would say something like that will be fabulous, just to see the vehicles that are lurking about in Northern Ireland, the money's worth of stuff.
I was at last year's one, and it was brilliant to see. And again, just enthusiasts out, and that's actually funny. It's funny you talk, Andy, about the older man in the Porsche. There was older guys in the McLarens and the Ferraris, and they were giving them the beans.
Yeah,
it was. They're guys who have got to that stage in life where they have a few pound, they've got a nice car, they're spending it on something they're enjoying, and they were going out and driving it. It was that last day we were at Track Skills.
Yes,
there was the guy in essentially a brand new 488.
Yeah.
And he was out every single session,
absolutely
caning it,
just loving it. And I think that those guys traditionally would have been like, I have the car, but I just bought it for myself because I can go out on a Sunday and the Sunday drive, typical story. And then COVID hit, and it's like, I don't know, maybe I want to go and do something a bit, maybe let other people experience the car and see the car and all the rest, because we love seeing other stuff like that. You know, we don't want people to keep stuff hidden away where possible. We want to get the dust blown off these things and get out and see them.
What I most enjoyed about last year actually was the amount of kids that were at it. You know, and it sort of takes you back to when you were that age, you know, and I remember like being 7 or 8 and you go somewhere and you see a Ferrari, even back then, like a Porsche 911 was a novelty, although you kind of see them every day in the road now, but it was just such a great thing as a young kid to be interested in that, and you get so excited seeing them, and then you go to these events now and the kids are there and we're looking at the McLarens, and most of the owners, all of them I would say, are quite friendly and letting them look inside them, and you know, and that's a kid that in 30, 40 years hopefully will be owning one.
This is the people turn into us, exactly. You know, enthusiasts. So, and the whole EV thing is, and the commoditizing of the car and autonomous driving and all the rest is taking all that enjoyment and excitement out of it. So we definitely need something like that to bring the younger generation on board. And even Dub Shed this year, I didn't realise it's completely open now for all. It's not all
for all makes.
It's all makes, as well. So
which is brilliant. I can't wait to actually hear the interview you do with the guys, because I love Dub Shed. It's that from guys who have taken what was a Volkswagen only show to opening it up to other makes and marques to what it's grown into. It's been amazing to see over the last few years. I launched my business officially at Dub Shed a couple of years ago. It's fantastic to see.
Ross has a turtle wax franchise.
Watered down turtle wax. It's amazing to see what those guys have done and how they've been inclusive of the whole car scene. You know, they saw that niche is all very well and good, but how they have opened it up, developed it, brought it, you know, so inclusive. And even when you look at last year when you know, all the drifting and that was down at it, it's great.
That's unreal.
You can have a stand at the next one with Porsche branded baby seats. Porsche and Lotus, actually.
Porsche and Lotus.
And Toyota. TRD.
I know. I'm actually not here for it, and I've got it. Well, look, I think it's time that we take a wee break for buns. So if you're listening, get the kettle on. We're having Slemish laughing buns.
They're tasty.
Which are jam coconut and filled with cream. And they are fantastic. Well, and normal service will resume shortly. So we're back and fully refreshed after the laughing buns, and we're laughing as well because we're watching it's Daniel Mack on YouTube, which is this guy who goes up and goes, "Nice car, man. What do you do for a living?" That sort of shit.
And he gets paid a fortune to do it.
Yeah.
Quite a variety of answers. I don't know if I would tell him the truth. Like if I happen to be rich enough to actually answer him, but you'd lie about it, make something up.
It's interesting. Ross, I have a car cleaning question for you.
Fire away.
So the Yaris was getting harder and harder to clean, and took it back down to Pete, maybe the ceramic coat on it, and he was telling me that the coating's clogged, and it's possibly to do with how I'm cleaning it or what I'm using it to clean it or whatever else. But anyway, got it back, and it's meant I haven't washed it since.
Believe it or not, if you don't wash it regularly, if you're not in the habit of washing it all the time, sometimes you're better not doing it rather than doing it incorrectly.
Well, just don't wash it at all. Just leave it.
Just bring it back down to Pete.
Just bring it back down to Pete. Well, I generally do. I got hit with COVID not long after I was with Pete, so I wasn't in the mood to wash
yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Never mind. I know.
Never mind going out and taking time to do
it.
Here,
my coating's clogged enough. Never mind. Never mind the Yaris. But so a man who's in the industry.
A man who's in the industry.
So and I think what we'll need we did have Pete on before, but we must get him back on again, because one thing he said look, he runs some events now again, car cleaning events, and he says it'll be well worth, because I don't really derive much satisfaction from cleaning my car at all. Like, I like a clean car, don't get me wrong. Don't like the thought of getting out a toothbrush to clean the inside of alloy wheels. Or
believe me, about 6 months after changing nappies, you will take every opportunity you can possibly do to go out and clean wheels with a toothbrush.
Oh, it'll suddenly become a 4-hour affair.
Absolutely. No, listen, Pete and I had actually talked about a few things. I guess he runs the detailing days, And one of the things that we are really going to concentrate on doing this year is putting out some videos, because we both share a lot of customers, we both share a lot of references, and the whole kind of car cleaning industry, people can get confused sometimes. That was one of the ways when I launched the business, and really RMS was a springboard for me to launch it. And something I've done from the very start is cut out the bullshit, because there is so much bullshit involved in this game about, you need 10 different coatings, you need this, that and the other. You don't. The first thing you need to do is just have a good basic wash technique. And if you've got that there down, then the rest of the maintenance really follows suit, and it really is quite easy to do, whether your car's ceramic coated, whether it's polished, whether it's waxed, whether it's got a sealant. All those things are called last stage protections. But it's really getting the basics right at the start, and that's one of the first things that Pete and I really trying to drum into people. He does handover packs now, where when you have your car finished with him, he will give you a pack which tells you how to do it. They give some recommendations of car companies who he uses and detailing suppliers. Whilst I run the business, I put out a question on Instagram earlier on about have you any questions for me? I was doing this podcast tonight, and one of the things we were going to focus on was this here. And a really interesting question somebody asked me is, what's my favourite product, or what's my favourite product by another company? I recommend a few companies all the time, because some people love waxing a car. There's something therapeutic about it. There's something definitely very... And one of the companies I recommend all the time is Built Hamber. Mm-hmm. They're a really cool company. I kind of try to follow what they do. They're kind of more the technical side of things. Mm-hmm. Whilst we all love like the real nice advertising and the brashness of some of the other companies, at the crux of it, I'm still trying to cut out the bullshit. And when you have a product that works really, really well, as Built Hamber's Finis Wax or Double Wax works, mm-hmm. I love recommending them. And anybody who I've ever recommended them to has come back and said to me, wow, that's fantastic. Fair play to you. Thanks very much for that there. And that's what it always comes back to. But, doing the very simplest things, the first thing we say is, if you use sponges, throw the sponges away. We use wash mitts, because microfiber wash mitt, my ones are short pile and long pile. And in fairness, most companies now are following the same suit. Some people like lambswool wash pads. I don't, because they end up stinking, because they've got like natural leather inside them. Unless you dry them out properly, they get really sweaty and gooey and oozy, mm-hmm. and they're just not that nice. The lambswool itself is quite nice to wash with, but as with anything, if you get a wee bit of grit in it, that's it, stuck in it forever. Some people use noodle mitts. Noodle mitts are fine. I personally don't like them.
What's a noodle mitt?
A noodle mitt is exactly what it sounds like. It's just like a wash mitt, but it's got noodles on it instead of they're soft microfiber noodles.
You can use it with a drop of sauce, can you?
You try it. It probably wouldn't taste very nice. But there's different strokes for different folks. But you find what works for you, and what works for you is just whatever's the easiest, whatever way you get on with things. But I would say absolutely you need a good wash mitt. People talk about 2 wash buckets. That's getting a wee bit geeky for some people. So if you don't, if you don't want 2 wash buckets, do what I do. You have the 1 wash bucket and you have 5 or 6 mitts in it. So you're always using a clean mitt on each panel, and you're rinsing them out all the time. A good pre-wash is an absolute essential, and that was possibly, it's not one of the reasons why your car gets clogged, because ceramic coatings do get clogged. It's just the nature of the beast. But they can be quite easy to declog.
So hold on, I'm a bit slow in the uptake. You expect me to have, if I don't want 2 buckets, mm-hmm. I'm going to have 6 fucking mitts, 1 for each panel. Well, and how, see me, see if I had that amount of choice, yeah. I would end up 3 mitts would never be used, yeah. and I'd be using the same ones over again. Because I just want, and another thing is, a mitt, you have to take I put my hand, I have a mitt, I put my hand in it, I mm-hmm. sock puppet that baby. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about in, out, shake it all about.
Absolutely.
With the 6 ladies in the
6 ladies in the bucket. If you don't want to do that there, do you know something? It comes down to the pre-wash. So how we said to everybody to do is, the very first thing to do is apply your pre-wash product, because that's the product that does all the work. In the case of a ceramic coated car, I would recommend people use CitraClean. So it's one of the products I do, which we designed specifically with the ceramic coated car enthusiast, or the ceramic coated cars in our mind to do that.
Is this like a is it a spray-on stuff, or is
Yep.
it a foam, or what is it?
It's a spray-on product. So again,
Is it what they call an APC, is it?
no, an APC is an all-purpose cleaner. So that an APC will be
It's like
used.
Flash, is it?
Yeah, kind of. Do you know something? Yeah.
You're not going to get sensible answers out of me, because
But do you know something? There's no such thing as a silly question, because this is actually a thing that a lot of people get, and it's one of the reasons why I think my business is quite successful, is because my number's there all the time. People can contact me directly and ask the silly questions that maybe they're afraid to. I could show you a long list of things on my Instagram and Facebook where people send me a message, can I do this, that and the other? And that really is part of, the whole idea that Pete and I have about doing these training days, just to show people it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be difficult. If I can teach you, so you who is coming in here to this here completely green, if I say to you, okay Andy, you take your dirty car in, we're going to spray it down with this first product here, and this product is going to do all the work for you really. This is what's doing the cleaning. You can then stick a coat of foam on top of it if you've got a foam cannon, and if you don't, that's no problem at all, because you can rinse it off. The only thing that a foam does is a foam will give... Well, sorry, I'm going to bring that back a wee bit. My foam is a pure foam. There's very little cleaning power in the foam because it's not made to. My pre-wash product is the thing that's doing 95% of the work for you. And all that my foam will do is it'll allow the pre-wash longer dwell time. So as I said, if I'm going to clean your car, I could clean your Yaris in probably about 20 minutes tops, and it'll be really well cleaned at that there. I said we take it in, we spray it down with the pre-wash, hit it a coat of foam, then we go into the kitchen and you fill up your shampoo bucket. You come out, that's about 5 minutes dwell time. We rinse the car off, you wash it a panel at a time with the shampoo, and you rinse it off, and that's it done. Nothing more complicated. As simple as that.
So I like, say I'm from the school of you throw TFR at it because you've killed 1,000 bugs at the front of it, but I don't hear the words TFR in your language.
TFR, again, one of my top selling products is Articulate, which is a non-caustic TFR, traffic film remover. I still prefer, I prefer Articulate over CitraClean because it's got a slightly more of a bite. I do a lot of miles in my van, and I've done side-by-side comparisons with the CitraClean versus the Articulate TFR, and I find very little difference between the two of them. But as I said, my van hasn't been ceramic coated, so that's why I preferred to use CitraClean on the likes of it. Articulate on the likes of that.
And then what about the all-purpose cleaner then? Where does it come in?
So where all-purpose cleaners will come in, people will use an all-purpose cleaner for cleaning interiors, like the scuttle panels, the kick panels and all inside the car, around the pedals, around the bottom of the dashboard trims. They'll clean the engine bay down with an all-purpose cleaner because that is what it is. It's generally they're degreasers because they're made to get rid of grease, grime, dirt and crap like that there. So they are an all-purpose cleaner, but that means they're good at a lot of things, but they don't specialise in anything. APCs are fine, but the problem with most APCs is that they will have either a very high alkaline base in it or a caustic base in it, and caustics clean really, really well. They're fantastic at what they do, but repeated or ongoing uses of them will have a degradation. They'll degrade whatever waxes, ceramics, whatever sealants you've got left on the car. So that's why something as strong as an all-purpose cleaner is really, really good at doing lots of tasks, but it shouldn't be used for every task.
Okay, so that's not something you should be hitting the car with every...
No, not every wash.
Okay.
The other important thing is, no matter whose products you use, is follow the instructions, because we spend a lot of time creating these products, working with chemists to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. And when I sell something that is meant to be used at 40 parts water to 1 part chemical, it's meant to be used that way. If you use it 20 to 1, it's not going to work twice as well.
Yeah.
What happens then is you're leaving more surfactants on the surface, which take longer to rinse off. If people spray it on and don't rinse it off properly, or if they spray it on and go away for a wee walk and have a think about, I'm going to fill this, and they allow the product to dry in, that's the one thing that no matter whose product or what product it is, we never want to have the product dry on the surface of the car, because that's what can lead to etching marks, to just, it's creating more work for yourself to remove those things off it. So I said the most important thing on any chemicals you use is follow the instructions. We take the time to write them on the labels for people to make sure they follow them. And the other thing as well is it's more economical. 5 litres of my TFR, of my Articulate TFR, is costing 20 quid. That's mixing down at 50 parts water to 1 part chemical. that gives you 250 litres of usable product, which is enough to clean
It's going to last you a while.
a fleet of buses. And if you're using that at 5-1, it does not work any better.
Yeah.
And you're just wasting money then.
Yeah. So you do have to have trigger sprays and all that sort of. So you're going to have a pile of trigger sprays and you're going to have 500 wash mitts. And
Again, some people go down to those extents, but personally me, I've got a large pump sprayer because, again, if you're using a smaller trigger sprayer, your arms are going to be sore.
in
by the time you
fairness,
get around.
I have a big pump sprayer for the TFR.
For the
Great
TFR.
job.
So use that there. Spray it all over the car. And as we say, a sprayed on product, so this gets a wee bit geeky, but a sprayed on product will always give you a better, more even coverage than a foamed on product. This is something a lot of people would ask me, why do you foam your car versus why do you spray it down with pre-wash? And if you think about the size of bubbles, so if a sprayed on product has got thousands and thousands of tiny bubbles that will cover a flat surface more evenly versus a foamed on product which gives you big, large bubbles, but they don't have the same surface contact. The best of both worlds is if you can spray on a product first and then foam on top of it to allow the sprayed on product longer dwell time.
So you spray it on. What stage do you rinse the car after? So you're putting your TFR on or whatever else, and then you're putting directly on top of that. You're putting your foam
On top of it.
and then you're doing a rinse with a pressure washer. Then
Yep.
So TFR doesn't go on dry.
Correct. Well, again, there was Detailing World is a forum full of people who are anal about how they measure things out, and these guys really, they test products to the nth degree. And there was a few guys who are very, very clever guys, very good guys. They'd done back-to-back comparisons versus spraying onto a dry car versus spraying onto a wet car, and they found very little difference.
okay.
I will always spray onto a dry car unless it's hot outside or unless the panels are hot, because if you're spraying onto a wet car, it's already going to be diluted down slightly, but we're not talking about a massive dilution. But if you're spraying a pre-diluted product onto a wet panel, then it's not going to have the same kind of adhesion to it. So I will always spray onto a dry car because it sticks to it better,
Okay.
unless it's hot.
Awesome.
So spray, foam, rinse, wash with your bucket
Yep.
and
Mitts.
mitts.
You going to remember all this?
Yes.
I have visions of you, quite a funny image in my head of you with about 2.5 hours sleep from the baby, and you've 18 mitts in a bucket all colour coded, and trying to remember which did I use for the bonnet.
But yeah, it can be quite daunting, when we read all these things about, there's this many different products to do X, Y, and Z. But when you really cut the bullshit out, a good pre-wash, a good foam to allow longer dwell times, and that's actually what's doing the work. Then you power wash it off, and that's going to get most of the dirt and the crap off your car, so that when it comes time to have the contact wash, that you're inflicting as little marring onto it as possible.
Sure.
What about wheels? My wife's car in particular seems to suffer from brake dust, sticking to the wheels all the time, and I usually scrub it off manually, but most of the things I've seen out there tend to be quite toxic, and obviously with wheels you can have different types. You can have just standard paint, or you can have polished or whatever.
Correct. Wheels have turned into something again that people overcomplicate. One of my top selling products was the Iron Fallout Remover Purge, because it works so well. It's a pH neutral product. It has a chemical reaction when it comes in contact with fallout, and the fallout is iron, it's brake dust, it's whatever else. That's where you see all the Instagram videos with, these wheels sprayed on, it goes mad purple, and then you rinse it off. It's fantastic what it does, and it really is. It's one of the best ways to clean your wheels, but it's also one of the most expensive ways to clean your wheels. And you don't need to do it all the time. And people who wash their wheels down all the time with a fallout remover, they're just wasting that product. So I'm going to say around this time last year, actually, I was working with one of our chartered chemists, and we came up with a really good non-acidic wheel cleaner. And since I've taken it on, and just to give you a kind of price comparison, so Purge, my fallout remover in a 750ml bottle, is priced around 15 quid. Cleanse, which is my non-acidic wheel cleaner, 5 litres of cleanse plus a free trigger sprayer, 750ml trigger sprayer, is selling out like $18.95, so 19 quid. And you're getting, cleanse will do 95% of the job that Purge will do for a fifth of the price.
So why will the TFR not do the job on the wheels?
The TFR will do, and it will do most of the job on the wheels. The problem with the TFR on the wheels is there's a lot more ingrained brake dust, things like that there, that a normal TFR will do. My TFR is non-caustic, so therefore it cleans really well, but it's safer. It doesn't have the same cut. My wheel cleaner is specific for wheels. That's what it's been designed to do. It hasn't been designed to do. It's not an all-purpose cleaner. It's only for the wheels. And what we found it really good was, again, I saw people coming out with rubber cleaners. You know, this is one of the things, people are cleaning their rubber to get tire gel to stick better to it. It absolutely works, but it's introducing yet another product that I don't feel people need. So I work with Gil, our chemist. We've got a really, really good wheel cleaner that cleans tires and rubber and all really, really well. And that's the only job it has to do.
Okay.
So we found it to be great. One of the guys in the forum, Wheeloney, he's got the white wheels on his Mazda and he drives the wheels of that thing, so he does. My stuff cleans them up every single time, and like he swears by it now.
Do you know what? That part of the problem is too. You see some of the threads we have in the car care section or something like that, and some people are just so good. Yeah, and their cars look so great.
And there's the science behind it all, and like I don't know about you, but I'm extremely basic when it comes to car cleaning. I've maybe on a sponge, but I'm still one bucket in a mitt. You know, but some of it's fascinating. Like I watched there's a YouTube video this week about it wasn't a barn find, it was like an outdoor Porsche that had been lying for 14 years, and the guy was detailing it and cleaning it and spraying it all out there, and there's all these black specks in the bonnet, and they started explaining that the paint expands like pores in the sun, and this happens repeatedly day after day over time, and it's bits of dirt and stuff start to kind of sink into the paint and becomes trapped, and then to remove it, he was actually going around steaming the bonnet, they get it open again and then buffing it and taking them out. But it's fascinating. Like I didn't think paint did that. I thought it's human skin might do it, but not metal and paint.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. So it is, and those are guys who are working like at kind of the apex of it, and they're very, very good at what they do. Those kind of videos, everybody loves watching the barn find videos. They're addictive, so they are. The other guy who watches that, Ammo NYC. He's
that was the one. It was a white 928 on that.
He's amazing, and again he's a guy who was an enthusiast who turned into a detailer. He's now launched his own brand. He's working actually with Wheel Woolies. I supplied the Wheel Woolies, which I still believe are the best wheel brushes in the country. But he's actually collaborated with them to come up with a wheel woolly with it's like a jet inside it for when they're cleaning engine bays and that there in some of these cars. Right, cool. So because you don't like getting a lot of water in around engine bays, so he's come up with this thing where you can spray a foam cleaner down inside it, scrub it with this wheel woolly, and then blast it off again. So
did you watch the Porsche video?
Yeah,
like he does it with love. He was talking to the car at the end of it.
Yeah,
that's okay, baby, and all the singers. He was
oh my god,
he was reviewing it,
Unbelievable.
Keep him away from the exhaust.
Look, I do look at the threads in RMS, and I was like, I've never been able. I like to keep the car clean, but I'm not into it. But I'm like, I feel like, well, I have cars that need justice done by trying to keep them proper. One thing I have done actually is I do have a water filter, and I think it is a brilliant job. A
lifesaver, especially when dark coloured cars in the sunnier weather.
Yep, for spotting where we are, our water's quite hard. And so that was another thing. So not only this is the road that it takes you down, so you end up getting a water filter, and then you're like, then after a while you're thinking, I don't know if this is as good as it used to be, and then you go up and buy a flipping tester, and then so many parts per million of whatever shites in the water, and then you have to only go and buy a block of resin. How much is a block of resin? 70 quid. Flip me, but that's, I
wouldn't have sold you to that cheap.
So, but it is a great job.
Yeah, do you know something? You can go down the wormhole, but there is something that's really, there is something therapeutic about going out and cleaning your car and having it sitting there and then going out and enjoying it. But when it comes back to the basics, just have a simple wash method. Spray it down with something first, hit a coat of foam on top of it, and let the first product work. Rinse it off, and then wash it with shampoo. And that's Bob's your uncle.
And whether you go down the rabbit hole and do all these things or not, it's always better to be armed with knowledge.
Absolutely. And as I said, when we launch the videos, we'll drop the link in here. There'll be free links onto to everybody. And as I said, no matter whose products you're using, that's fine. Keep using what you're using. I personally think my products are as good as anybody's in the market. If not, I know I've got 26 years experience with chemistry, with that kind of background on it. I know what people do, I know what they don't do, and I know how to cut out the bullshit in the middle and just give products that really work, do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So there we go.
There we go. There's the pitch.
There's the pitch.
And if you are interested in this, the car care section on RMS, the members car section, and the there's as Martin started a brilliant thread about you have to take a picture of your car after you've washed it thread, and it's fabulous as well. There's some great stuff.
Beautiful cars.
So you've always got stands that shows if people want to come up for some advice.
Yeah,
questions.
so we're obviously doing Dubshed again this year, and that's actually one of the nicest things about it. It was funny, like even Eurotreffin show. So we arrived at the Eurotreffin show and we're setting it up. And when you're on a stand, when you're displaying at shows, you don't get a lot of time to go out and have a walk around. So it was actually really cool to have a walk around and see so many people using like my quick detail hybrid and stuff like that there, and painting up their tires. It's something really, really nice. And some of these people who only know me through online, they've never spoke to me, never met me. So there's something really, really nice about seeing people at shows. And the likes of Dubshed now, where people come up to you and ask you questions, and they see a couple of cars that we have on display, and you're able to demonstrate, because again, when you talk about it, you can talk all you want, but a picture paints 1,000 words. And when I tell somebody about, you only need a couple of spritzes of a quick detailer on the on the bonnet, you don't have to flood it with it, and show them how to do it. So again, we've got a couple of cars at Dubshed this year. We're doing, actually I'm not even going to say, just come and see us, but it's very old school technology versus new school technology on it, and we're going to be demonstrating the products working. Come and have a word with us. Come and ask me silly questions, because there's no such thing as a silly question.
Well, here's a silly question.
Go for it.
Do you not set a bonnet on fire like the mayor man used to do up at North Corner Market?
Not in a Dakar yellow M3.
Here's one we made earlier.
Here's one we done earlier.
Thanks for that, Ross. That's very useful information there. Maybe see if my wash technique can improve. Maybe need to buy a few more mitts.
We'll keep you. You can use your RMS discount.
Oh, so generous. Thanks for that. I think we will wrap this one up. I'll be meeting the GTI and I guys for the next show imminently. Thanks for joining us, and remember, there's no warranty. This was sold as seen.